Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are opening up a file that, on the surface, it looks like a biography of an ancient king.
Right.
But the minute you scratch that surface, you realize we're actually looking at a massive philosophical scandal.
A scandal. I like that. It's a good word for it.
It is. We are tackling a paradox that sits right at the very heart of Indian philosophy. And honestly, it's a paradox that I think sits at the heart of the human experience.
Mhm.
It's that constant battle, or maybe it's a dance, I don't know, between the head and the heart, between cool, rational, spreadsheet logic and, warm, messy, overwhelming emotion.
It is the classic tension, isn't it? But the example we are looking at today takes that tension to the absolute extreme.
To the extreme.
We aren't just talking about being a little logical versus being a little emotional. We were talking about two absolute peaks of human experience colliding in one single person.
Right. This isn't just a guy who likes math, but also likes poetry.
No. This is a clash of worldviews, a fundamental clash.
Exactly. We are looking at a figure who is essentially the philosopher king of ancient India, King Janaka.
King Janaka.
And to set the stage here, we need to be very clear about who this guy is. Janaka isn't just a king in the, I wear a big hat and collect taxes sense.
Not at all.
He is a spiritual heavyweight. I mean, a real giant. He has a title, Videha,
Videha. It literally means free from the body.
free from the body,
Or, to be more precise, free from the identification with the body.
which is a wild title for a king. I mean, usually kings are the most body-identified people around.
Oh, completely.
They want the food, the luxury, the territory, the legacy, all of it.
Yeah.
But Janaka, he's ruling a kingdom, but internally he is supposedly operating on a plane of pure intellect and spirit.
He's completely detached. At least that's the reputation.
And the reason he is this way is because of his guru, Ashtavakra.
And Ashtavakra is not the kind of guru who gives you a hug, hands you a flower, and tells you everything's going to be okay. Ashtavakra is the proponent of radical, uncompromising, non-dualism. His teaching is called Ajatavada.
Ajatavada.
Yeah.
Let's pause there. This is a term we need to really unpack because it sets up the stakes for everything else.
It really does.
What does Ajatavada actually mean? Because it sounds heavy.
It is heavy. It's probably the most radical teaching you'll find anywhere. If we break it down, Ajatavada.
Yeah.
It is the theory of non-origination.
Non-originate.
Is the radical idea that the world was never even created.
Wait, back up. Never created.
Never created. The idea is that this entire universe, this microphone in front of you, the coffee you drank this morning, the traffic outside, all the drama of history.
All of it.
Ultimately, in the absolute sense, it doesn't exist. It's a projection. Only the formless Brahman, the universal consciousness, is the truth. Everything else is just, well, a story.
Okay, I have to play the skeptic here.
Oh!
That sounds insane. I mean, it really does. I can touch this table. I can feel stress. If I pinch myself, it hurts. How can a philosophy claim nothing happened when clearly something is happening? It feels almost nihilistic.
It can feel that way to the uninitiated. It really can. But think of it like a dream.
Okay.
When you are having a nightmare, the monster chasing you feels incredibly real.
Oh, yeah. Terrifyingly real.
Your heart races, you sweat, you might even cry out. But when you wake up, what happens? You realize the monster never actually existed.
Right. It was just in my head.
It was real to your mind, but it had no independent reality. Ashtavakra is telling Janaka, wake up! You are the dreamer! The world is the dream! Stop taking the dream so seriously.
So King Janaka is sitting there listening to his guru tell him, the world is an illusion. Forms are not real. Relationships are just, dream characters.
That's the core of it.
And he is soaking this up. He is the master of this no-form philosophy. He's the guy who looks at his palace and sees, what, empty space? A mirage?
He sees it as a temporary appearance in consciousness. He attaches no ultimate value to it. He uses it, he rules from it, but he knows it's not the final reality.
Okay, so that's his foundation.
Yeah.
The head is fully engaged in this radical skepticism of reality.
Fully.
But, and here is the massive but that drives this episode, who's King Janaka's son-in-law?
His son-in-law is Sri Ram.
That's Sri Ram, the hero of the Ramayana,
The very same.
the embodiment of God with form,
Yeah.
the Saguna Sakara Brahman, the divinity that walks, talks, carries a bow, cries over his wife, and has very specific, very real personality.
Yes.
And Janaka isn't just Ram's father-in-law on paper. The sources describe him as a devotee, a bhakta.
A profound devotee.
He loves Ram. He worships Ram.
And there lies the conflict. the scandal you mentioned.
It feels like a massive hypocrisy, doesn't it? I mean, really,
Mm.
imagine you have a friend who is a radical minimalist. He tells you possessions are an illusion, furniture is a trap, I live in an empty white room because matter is evil.
Okay, I know this guy, metaphorically.
Right. And then you go to his house and he has this massive, ornate golden shrine to a celebrity that he polishes every day and talks to.
You'd be confused.
You'd be like, dude, what happened to the minimalism? You're obsessed with this object.
That is a fair analogy. It looks like a betrayal of his own philosophy.
So, the question we are diving into today is, how? How can someone who believes the world is an illusion and only the formless exists simultaneously be a devout worshiper of a god with a human form?
Is he confused?
Right. Is Janaka confused?
Right.
Is he just playing politics because Ram is a powerful prince? Or are we missing something huge?
We are definitely missing something huge. And honestly, this isn't just about Janaka. This is about a historical tension in Indian thought that lasted for centuries.
Oh, really?
For a long time, the knowledge people, the Nanis, and the devotion people, the Bhaktas, were like oil and water. They did not mix.
There was actual beef between these groups.
Massive beef. Intellectual gang wars, essentially. You had the Shaivites followers of Shiva, often associated with the path of knowledge, austerity, and asceticism, who would look at the Vaishnavites, followers of Vishnu and Ram, the path of devotion, and, kind of laugh.
They'd scoff at them.
They'd say, look at these sentimental fools. They are crying over statues. They are trapped in duality. They don't understand the ultimate truth.
They're too emotional.
Exactly. And the Bhaktas would fire right back. They'd say, you Nanis are dry, arrogant egoists. You talk about being God, but you have no heart. You're just brains in a jar.
Wow. Brains in a jar. That's harsh.
It was a serious divide.
So Janaka is basically standing in the middle of this crossfire.
Hmm?
He's the guy who is supposedly the ultimate brain in a jar, but he's acting like a sentimental fool.
He is the Venn diagram where the circles completely overlap, and our mission today is to figure out how he pulls that off without his head exploding.
Okay, let's get into the mechanics of this.
Yeah.
We have the first glance problem. Theory says no form. Heart says love this form. The source material points to a specific resolution. It calls it a distinction of states, or avasthan kaped.
Right. Avasthan aped. This suggests that what looks like a contradiction is actually just a matter of which level of reality you are looking at. It's about perspective.
Before we get to the levels, let's talk about the first key the sources give us. And that's the synthesis of Gnan, or knowledge, and bhakti, devotion.
The great synthesis.
We have to reimagine what the goal of Advaita actually is, because usually we think the goal is just, well, realized emptiness, silence, checking out of the hotel of life.
That is a common misconception. The ultimate knowledge is indeed aham brahmasmi. I am Brahman, I am the universe.
It's a big one.
But here is the catch. Knowing that intellectually is one thing, living it while you still have a human body, a job, and family members is another.
The so what factor. Okay, I'm the universe. I still have to eat lunch.
Yes.
I still have to deal with my son-in-law coming over for dinner.
Precisely. And this is where the source material brings in a beautiful argument. It says that as long as the body exists, and as long as worldly transactions or vyavahara are occurring, bhakti or devotion adds flavor to that knowledge.
Flavor. I really like that word in this context. It suggests that knowledge without devotion might be, I don't know, nutritious, but it's bland.
The source uses the word rasa, which means juice, sweetness, essence. Think of it this way. Pure knowledge, pure gyan, is like pure water.
Okay. Essential for survival.
Absolutely essential. If you don't have water, you die of thirst, meaning if you don't have knowledge, you die of ignorance. You suffer.
Makes sense.
But water has no taste. It's neutral.
Yeah.
Now, what if you add a drop of rose essence to that water?
Okay. Now it smells good. It tastes sweet. It's more enjoyable.
Does the rose essence stop it from being water?
No, it's still H2O. It's
Oh.
just better H2O. It's enhanced.
Exactly. Janaka is drinking the rose water. His knowledge, which is the water, keeps him liberated. He knows it's fluid, he knows it's not solid. But his devotion, the rose essence, gives him something to enjoy while he's alive. It makes the experience of living blissful.
And there's a quote from Tulsidas mentioned in this source that seems to act as the bridge here.
A critical one.
And knowing what you just told me about the gang war between the sects, this quote feels like a peace treaty.
It is a peace treaty. It's a work of genius. Goswami Tulsidas writes in the Ramcharitmanas, Agatihi nahin nahin kachubeta.
And what does that mean?
It translates to, there is no actual difference between bhakti and jnana.
which is a bold claim for a time when everyone was fighting about the difference. He's saying, guys, you're fighting over nothing.
He's being a brilliant synthesizer. He is saying they aren't enemies. They are different functions of the same truth. Knowledge is the structure. It's the skeleton. It holds everything up. It cuts through the lies.
Like the foundation.
But devotion is the sweetness. It's the flesh and blood that makes the structure alive. One without the other is incomplete.
So for King Janaka, his knowledge gives him the stability. He's not going to have a breakdown if things go wrong.
Correct. He's unshakable.
But his devotion gives him the joy, the reason to get up in the morning.
Exactly. And this connects back to his title, Videha. We said it means liberated from body pride. Now, ask yourself this. Why does a person who is liberated worship?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Usually we treat religion as a transaction. God, I'll give you a coconut, you give me a promotion.
Sure, I'll do these rituals.
And you keep me out of hell. It's a deal. But if I'm already liberated, if I'm Janaka, I don't need the promotion, and I'm not afraid of hell, so why bother?
That is the crucial distinction. For the ignorant person, worship is indeed a transaction. It's born out of need or fear. But for the knower, for someone like Janaka, worship is Sahajanand.
Sahajanand.
Spontaneous, natural bliss. He worships not because he has to in order to get something. He worships because he can. It is the overflowing of his own realization.
That is a beautiful shift in perspective. He isn't worshiping Ram to get enlightened. He is worshiping Ram because he is enlightened and he recognizes the beauty of it.
Yes.
It's like, okay, imagine a master musician, a virtuoso. They don't play scales to learn anymore. They've already mastered them.
All right, the drills are done.
They play because playing is joy. It's the natural expression of their mastery.
Precisely. It turns the whole hypocrisy argument on its head. It's not that he's failing at being a non-dualist. It's that his non-dualism is so complete, he can afford to enjoy the prey of duality.
He can afford to enjoy the play.
Yeah.
That's sticking with me. That's a great line.
It's the freedom of the wise.
But I want to push on the mechanics of this play because it's easy to say it's all a game, but when you're in the thick of it, it feels real.
It does.
We need to talk about the second key from the sources, the levels of reality. This is where we get into the ice and water analogy, which I think solves the logic puzzle.
Yes, this is the philosophical framework that holds it all together. Advaita Vedanta classifies existence into tiers to solve exactly this kind of problem. You can't judge everything by this same yardstick.
It's not one-size-fits-all reality.
Not at all. The source mentions two main levels we need to focus on, Paramarthika and Vyavaharika.
Let's break those down. First, Paramarthika.
This is absolute reality. This is the level Ashtavakra is speaking from. It's the God's eye view, you could say.
The ultimate truth.
At this level, there is only the formless Brahman. No names, no forms, no King Janaka, no Sri Ram, no podcast, just pure, undivided oneness.
Okay, so at this level, the son-in-law relationship doesn't exist because people don't exist. It's all just consciousness.
Correct. But then there's the second level, Vyavaharika.
Vyavaharika.
This translates to transactional or practical reality. This is where we live day to day. This is where gravity works. This is where you have a job.
Where you have to pay your taxes.
And where relationships exist. Father, son, guru, disciple, husband, wife.
So Vyavaharika is the world of function. It might not be ultimately real in the cosmic sense, but it's real enough when you stub your toe.
Exactly. If you stub your toe, it hurts. You don't just say, my toe is an illusion and ignore the pain well unless you are very, very advanced.
Right.
But for most, the pain is valid within the Vyavaharika level. The rules of this reality apply.
So how does Janaka hold these two? It sounds like a mental toggle switch. Click, I'm God. Click, I'm a king. Is it that simple?
It's not a toggle. It's more like a superposition. He has a dual vision. With his internal eye, his wisdom eye, he sees the Paramarthika. He knows everything is Brahman. But with his external eyes and his heart, he operates in the Vyavaharika. He engages fully with the world as it appears.
Let's apply this to something difficult. We talk about him loving Ram, but Janaka was a king. She had to run a state.
A very real responsibility.
He probably had to send armies to war. He had sentenced criminals. How do you do that if you think the criminal is also God?
This is where the rubber meets the road. This is the concept of Videha in action. It's detachment in action. Think of it like playing a video game.
A video game. Okay, I like this.
Imagine you're playing a really immersive RPG. You are the hero. You have to fight battles, manage resources, save the village. You are engaged. Your heart rate goes up during the boss fight. You want to win.
Right. I'm stressed about the boss fight. I'm invested.
But in the back of your mind, a part of you always knows, I'm sitting on a couch. This is a screen. These are pixels.
Okay, yes.
If your character dies, you don't die. You might be annoyed, but you put the controller down. Your existence isn't threatened.
So Janaka is the ultimate gamer.
He is. He plays the game of kingship with full intensity and skill. He mobilizes the army. He passes the sentence, but he does it without hate and without anxiety.
How so?
He doesn't hate the enemy soldier because on the Paramartika level, he knows the enemy is just another bundle of pixels, another form of Brahman. But within the game rules, the Vyavaharka rules, the enemy must be stopped for the good of the kingdom.
That is chillingly cool. And also incredibly practical, because if you think the game is real life, you get too stressed to play well. You panic. You make mistakes.
Exactly. Janaka is the best king precisely because he knows it's a game. His hand doesn't shake when he draws the bow because he isn't afraid of the ultimate outcome. He's free.
So now, bring this back to Ram. If the world is the video game, Ram is what? The best character in the game? The final boss.
Ram is the developer inserting himself into the game as a character.
Whoa, okay. The ultimate avatar.
And Janaka, being the master player, recognizes the developer. He sees the code behind the pixels, and the source provides a fantastic analogy to explain how the formless becomes form. This is the famous ice and water analogy.
Okay, let's hear it. Walk us through it.
Think of water. Water in its liquid state is formless. It flows. It has no fixed shape. It takes the shape of its container. This represents Nirgun Brahman God without form, without attributes.
Okay, water is the absolute, pure potential.
Now, what happens when you lower the temperature? When you freeze water?
It becomes ice.
It becomes ice. Ice has a specific shape. It's solid. You can hold it. You can see it. This represents Sagun Brahman God with form, like Sri Ram.
Okay, so Ram is the ice. God in a tangible form.
Now, here is the crucial question. Is the ice different from the water?
Chemically, no. It's the exact same substance, H2O.
Precisely. It is the same substance, just in a different state. There is no contradiction. The source says that the formless takes form due to love or devotion, just as water becomes ice due to cooling.
That is poetic. So the cooling agent that turns the abstract universal consciousness into a person you can hug is love.
Yes. The intense devotion of the Bhakta freezes the infinite into a beautiful form so they can relate to it, interact with it, love it.
And what happens when the ice melts, when the form goes away?
It becomes water again. It returns to its formless state. There is no fundamental conflict. You cannot reject the water by holding the ice. In fact, you are holding the water in the form of ice.
I really like that. It makes the conflict just dissolve. It's not A versus B. It's A becoming B and then returning to A.
And this leads us to a moment in the story that really drives this home emotionally, because all this theory is great. Ice, water, video games, but does it hold up when Janaka actually meets Ram?
Right. This is section 4 in our dive.
Yeah.
The meeting. Because until this moment, Janaka is the stoic. He's the guy who could watch his palace burn down and say, it's just illusions.
He is the stoic of stoics. He is Videha, bodiless, unflappable.
So paint the scene for us. What happens when this man of steel meets the god of love?
The source describes the Swayamvar, the ceremony where Ram is going to lift the great bow of Shiva to win Sita's hand in marriage.
A huge public event.
Massive. Kings from all over are there. The atmosphere is tense, it's political, it's loud. Every king wants to prove his might.
And Janaka's presiding over this. He's in king mode. He's the host.
He is. He's managing this whole chaotic scene. But then Sri Ram enters the arena, and the text says that the moment Janaka lays eyes on Ram, he loses his sudbud.
Dude, what's that?
It means he loses his wits. He loses his composure. The man who is famous for having no body identification suddenly has a violent somatic reaction. He's totally overwhelmed. The text described tears flowing, his hair standing on end, he freezes in place. He enters a trance of love.
The paradox of the Videha kicks in again. The man, famous for being bodiless, is suddenly overwhelmed by a body. Isn't this a failure? I mean, if I were Ashtavakra, wouldn't I be standing in the corner with a clipboard saying, minus 10 points for attachment, Janaka?
You might think so. A superficial reading would say, oh, he lapsed back into ignorance, he got attached. But the interpretation from the source is completely different, and it's brilliant.
Okay, how do they spin it?
They argue that this reaction doesn't disprove his knowledge, it proves the power of Saguna Bhakti, of devotion to the form.
How does fainting prove power? That seems counterintuitive.
Think about it. If a regular emotional person sees Ram and falls in love, you could just say, well, they're just an emotional person. They fall in love with everything.
Right, they cry at commercials. It's not a high bar.
Exactly. But if the most logical, detached, ice-cold intellect on Earth is captivated by Ram, if he's literally melted by the sight of him, that tells you something about Ram.
Ah,
It tells you that Ram's charm isn't just a worldly attraction. It's something that transcends even the highest wisdom. It's powerful enough to melt the Videha.
I see. It's a stress test. Janaka is the hardest material to break. If Ram's beauty can crack Janaka, it must be the ultimate beauty.
Exactly. It validates the ice. It implies that Saguna Bhakti devotion to the form is the completeness or perfection of Nirgungayan formless knowledge. It's not a step down, it's the final flowering.
The final flowering. So you climb the mountain of knowledge, you get to the icy peak of nothing is real, and what do you find there? Not just empty space, but a beautiful garden of devotion.
That is a wonderful way to put it. The peak is not empty, it's full.
But wait, I have a lingering question about the melting. We said knowledge melts the ice. If Janaka is so wise, if he has the sun of knowledge shining in his head, doesn't he worry that Ram will disappear? That his love objects will dissolve into formlessness?
This is the classic fear of the bhakta, the devotee. The bhakta says, I don't want to become sugar, I want to taste sugar.
Right.
They are afraid that if they get too enlightened, the relationship ends. They merge. Game over.
If I realize I am Ram, I can't love Ram anymore. I can't hug myself. Or I can, but it's weird.
But Janaka's state suggests a third option. This is that lucid dreaming state again. You don't just melt the ice and leave it as water. You realize the ice is water, so you can hold the ice without the illusion that it is permanent, yet with the joy that it is here now.
So he holds Ram, knowing Ram is the self.
Yes. He loves the principle, the Siddhant in its living form, its Jivant Swarup. He loves the theory of water by holding the reality of ice.
This leads us to the ultimate synthesis. The source talks about redefining Advaita, because we need to be careful with our words. Advaita literally means non-duality.
Not to. That's the definition. Advaita,
So,
not to.
yeah. So let's play this out logically. If Janaka looked at Ram and said, I am Brahman, I am the ultimate reality.
Yeah.
But you, Ram, you are just a body, you are an illusion, you are distinct from the truth.
He would be creating a separation, a hierarchy.
That would be duality. That would be two, me the knower versus you the illusion.
Precisely. You have just created a box called truth and a box called lie and put Ram in the lie box. That is two boxes. That is duality. You failed the test of Advaita.
Whoa. Okay, that's a flip. So by rejecting the form, the strict Gnani, the brain in a jar, is actually falling into duality.
Yes. The real non-duality, the ultimate Advaita, is when Janaka looks at Ram and sees no separation. He sees Ram as an extension of his own self. He sees the entire universe, including Ram, as his own Atman.
So acknowledging the divinity of the form is actually the proof of non-duality.
It is the graduation. You stop saying, neti, not this, and you start saying, sarvam kalvidam Brahma. All this is Brahman,
Everything.
including the form, including the son-in-law.
That is profound. It makes the relationship so much deeper than just fanboying over a celebrity. He's looking at Ram and seeing the truth walking around.
The living embodiment of the principle he knows intellectually.
And just in case anyone is still skeptical, in case anyone thinks, well, maybe Janaka is just a special case, or maybe the text is exaggerating,
Which is a fair thought.
the source brings in the heavy hitter, the ultimate example, the final authority.
Oh, yes. You can't talk about Indian philosophy without eventually bringing in Lord Shankar, Shiva.
The Mahadeva, the great god. Now, describe Shiva's status in this context.
Well, Shiva is the ultimate yogi. He is the destroyer of illusion. He sits on Mount Kailash in deep meditation, covered in ash, completely detached. He is the guy Ashtavakra would look up to. If anyone is Videha, it's Shiva.
He is the absolute peak of the path of knowledge.
Correct. He is the ultimate knower. And yet, what does Shiva do? What is his constant practice?
The source says he constantly meditates on Sri Ram. He chants Ram's name. Ram, Ram.
He's the original Ram Bhakta. So if the ultimate embodiment of wisdom finds it necessary and joyful to meditate on Ram, what does that tell us?
It tells us the debate is over. Case closed.
It validates that knowledge strengthens devotion. It doesn't cancel it out. Shiva doesn't stop being Shiva because he loves Ram. In fact, his love for Ram is an essential part of his Shivaness.
It's a loop. The highest intellect, Shiva loves the highest divinity, Ram. It's a seamless circle.
And this brings us back to Tulsidas. By pointing out that Shiva loves Ram and Janaka loves Ram, he effectively ends the gang war. He tells the Shaivites, your guy loves my guy, so why are we fighting? We're on the same team.
It's brilliant diplomacy through theology.
It is. It's a masterstroke of synthesis.
So let's try to summarize this solution before we get to our takeaways for you at home. We started with the philosopher king's paradox. How can Janaka be an illusionist and a lover at the same time?
And we found that the solution lies in the integration. Janaka's knowledge acts as the foundation. It keeps him grounded in the truth that I am not the body. This prevents him from getting attached in a toxic, needy way.
He's needy. He doesn't need Ram to complete him.
Right. His happiness isn't dependent on Ram's actions, but his devotion acts as the structure built upon that foundation. It allows him to taste the sweetness of the divine.
Okay, so knowledge cuts through the ignorance.
But devotion allows for the enjoyment of the truth. Jayan is the freedom. Bhakti is the fun.
I love that. And that brings us to the so what for our listener. Because look, most of us aren't kings of ancient India. We aren't married to deities. But we do live in a world where we feel torn between our heads and our hearts.
We do. We live in a very intellectual age. We value data, logic, science, rationality. And often we feel like if we want to be smart or modern, we have to repress the emotional, the mystical, or the devotional side of ourselves.
Yeah, we think, oh, I can't be spiritual, I'm too logical, or I can't surrender to something, I need to be in control.
This deep dive on Janaka shows us that is a false dichotomy. You don't have to choose. True understanding, the kind Janaka had, doesn't make you dry and unfeeling.
If anything, it seems like it makes you feel more. Janaka's reaction was more intense than anyone else's.
It allows you to engage with the world more deeply. And why? Because you aren't afraid of it anymore.
What do you mean?
You know the ice is just water. You know the person in front of you, your partner, your child, even your annoying boss, is essentially the same consciousness as you, just in a different package.
That removes the fear.
It removes the fear and replaces it with connection. It allows you to see the unity behind the diversity.
I want to spend a moment on that final provocative thought from the outline regarding the sacred and the profane. We touched on seeing family as frozen water. How does one actually practice that?
Right.
Without being weird and staring at your spouse saying, I see the infinite in you, which might just creep them out.
Yes, please don't make it awkward at the dinner table. It is an internal stance. It's not about what you say, it's about how you see. It changes your expectations.
How so?
If you see your partner as just a human, a separate entity, you expect them to complete you. You expect them to be perfect. When they fail, which they will because they are human, you get angry. You suffer.
True. Why didn't you take out the trash? You don't love me. That kind of jump.
Exactly. But if you see them as a form of the formless, as a unique expression of the divine, as ice, you realize that the ice is temporary and imperfect in shape, but the water is pure. You forgive the cracks in the ice because you know the substance is water.
So it leads to patience.
To forgiveness.
Radical patience and compassion. You treat them with reverence, but you don't burden them with the job of being your God. You know God is the essence within them, not their personality.
That is practical relationship advice from 3,000-year-old metaphysics.
The best advice usually is. What about the dark side of the world, though? It's easy to see God in Ram. It's, relatively easy to see God in a loving spouse. What about seeing the water in the ice of, say, a difficult boss or a corrupt politician? Does Janaka's vision extend there?
It has to. If it doesn't, it's not Advaita, it's not non-dual. If you say, God is in the nice stuff but not the bad stuff, that is duality all over again.
So the difficult boss is also the formless taking a form.
A very jagged, uncomfortable, cloudy piece of ice. But yes, same water.
And how does Janaka deal with jagged ice? He doesn't have to hug it, does he?
No, absolutely not. He navigates around it. He knows it's water, so he doesn't hate it. He doesn't poison himself with rage. But he uses his Vyavaharika, his practical wisdom, to handle it appropriately.
So what does that look like?
He fires the employee who's harming the company. He votes out the politician who's harming the country, but he does it without poisoning his own heart with hatred. He deals with the action, not the person's essence.
He never condemns its essence. That's the key.
That is the path of the Karma Yogi, which Janaka also is. Action without malice.
It sounds like a superpower.
It is the ultimate superpower. It makes you invincible, because nothing can disturb your internal peace if you know what everything is made of.
We've talked a lot about the Hindu context here, Ram, Janaka, Shiva. But do we see this pattern in other traditions? The mystic who is also a lover.
Absolutely. It is a universal structural reality of the spiritual path. It has to be. You see it in Sufism. Rumi writes the most passionate, almost erotic poetry to God, while also talking about the annihilation of the self in the beloved.
Right.
You see it in Christian mysticism, St. Francis or St. Teresa of Avila. Deep theological understanding paired with intense personal devotional love for Jesus or God.
So this isn't just an Indian thing. This is a human consciousness thing. The mind seeks truth, the heart seeks love, and the fully realized human integrates both.
Indeed, stories like Janaba's act as lighthouses. They show us that the confusion we feel, that tension between our head and heart, is just a phase. The destination is harmony.
Harmony. I started this deep dive thinking we were going to talk about a contradiction, a fight, a scandal, but we've ended up talking about a marriage.
The marriage of head and heart. The ultimate union.
Well, I think we have truly unpacked this. We've looked at the philosophy, the emotion, the physics of water and ice, and the practical application for our relationships.
It's a lot to chew on.
It is. But that's why we do these deep dives. To our listeners, take this ice and water lens with you this week. Look at your world. See the forms. Acknowledge them. Respect them. But try to catch a glimpse of the water underneath. See if it changes how you feel in traffic.
Good luck with that one. That's the real final boss.
Thanks for swimming with us. We'll catch you on the next one.
Stay curious.
Bye for now.